Hi, I'm Scott McLean from Trance Music Mastery. In this video I will show you how Adam Sabo created a bass sound like the one heard in the Lost original mix by Matt Zoe. Okay, let's get started. Let me go ahead and show you the MIDI clip. The notes being played are C, E, D, and A. So let me play through that one time. And let me go ahead and bring up the sound map. So this is two oscillators. Oscillator 1 is a saw wave and oscillator 2 is a square wave. Those are mixed together and flow into a filter set as LP mid-drive, so that's a low-pass filter, and then that flows into an amplifier. The volume on the amplifier is being modulated by ENV1 or envelope 1, and the envelope has a fast attack, zero decay, sustain is at 100%, and a fast release, and then that flows into an EQ with a low shelf filter giving a plus 12 dB boost near 175 Hz, and a bandpass filter giving a plus 3.0 dB boost near 280 Hz. And then that flows into a reverb, and this is configured to be a small room reverb with just a slight amount of reverb. And then that flows into a compressor to accentuate the attack of the dynamic envelope. And then finally it goes to the main output. And Adam Sabo says, a saw and a square at the same octave are layered to bring out the fundamental frequencies and make the sound more bassy. A low-pass filter is added to remove unwanted frequencies and only leave the bass. The amp envelope has a high sustain to make the sound continuous, and a slight reverb simulating a small room gives an extra depth to the bass sound. Okay, so let's build this patch. And so I'm starting from the initialize patch, and we're going to go with all the default settings for the global section. And let's go ahead and configure oscillator 1. And in fact, oscillator 1, we will use all the default settings as well. So let's add oscillator 2. And this one we want to make a square wave. So we have a saw wave for oscillator 1, and for oscillator 2, we're going to set that to be a square wave. In fact, we can draw it like this, but another way is just to load it from a preset. So I'm going to load this and go to factory and look for square to spike, and that first wave is a square wave. And so now the only other thing that we want to do is just on the mixer, we're going to bring mixer volume all the way to 0, and I'll mix this in, and the final setting is going to be 10. So let me just play this. Okay, that's it for oscillator 2. Now what we want to do is set the envelope. And for this envelope, we're going to have decay at 0. The sustain is going to be all the way to a maximum value of 100. We'll bring attack up slightly to 12.5. Release, we can leave that at 15, and then velocity, we'll bring that to 0. Now let's add the filter, so that'll be VCF1, and we want to set the filter type to LP mid-drive, and then just bring the cutoff down to cut out a lot of that high end and make it sound more like a bass. And I will be bringing it down to 78.0. And the overall level's low, so I'm going to go ahead and configure that real quick. I'm going to bring the overall output up to 138.37. Alright, next we want to add an EQ. So EQ1. And here we're going to boost the low end using filter 1 right around 175 Hz. And boost it 12 dB. And for filter 2, we're going to set that just below 300 Hertz and have a plus 3 dB boost. Really helps round out that low end. Next, we want to add a reverb. And for this, I'm going to bring wet all the way down to 0. Dry, we'll move that to 100. And I'm going to mix in the wet amount. Well, I'll set the wet amount where it will ultimately end up, which is at 31.5. And now we're going to decrease the range to 22.5. Feedback, set that to 4.5. Increase dampening to 17. Set speed to 22.5. And set modulation to 40. Okay, next we want to add a compressor. In fact, just before I add the compressor, I'm going to bypass the effects and we'll do a before and after. Okay, now let's add the compressor, comp 1. And what we're trying to do here is just to accentuate some of the attack. So we want to have attack, leave that relatively long so it won't be at 0. In fact, it's going to be at 29.5. So what I'll do is I'll just zero everything out so that there's no compression. Just set the threshold all the way to the max. And we're going to set the mode to strong. Input and output will stay at 0. And what I will do is be changing attack, release, threshold, and the mix, the comp mix here. And so I'll go ahead and set them, and then I'll read off what their settings are. Okay, so the final settings are attack at 29.5, release at 43.5, the threshold is at -14, and the compression mix is at 59.5. And I believe that is it for this patch. Let me play through one more time so you can hear the final version. I'll see you in the next video.